Looking back, maybe 2025 wasn't the best time to make my first trip to Great Adventure. The new ride debuting this year is a capacity nightmare. They botched their 50th anniversary celebrations last year and, oh yeah, they just sent the world's tallest and America's fastest roller coaster to the scrap heap. But as they say, one man's loss is another man's gain, and the ride hoping to capitalise on Kingda Ka's sudden closure was its next door neighbour, El Toro. For years, enthusiasts and general park goers alike have debated whether Ka or Toro was the greatest coaster in the park. And now, with Ka gone, El Toro should unequivocally be everyone's number one at Great Adventure. I took my first rides in June 2025 to see if I could pass judgment myself, and to see if Toro's praise was warranted, or if it's all bull. Firstly, a bit of backstory to the ride. El Toro originally opened in 2006 as the third of 4 Intamin pre-fabricated wooden coasters, and the second one that I've ridden after Balder at Liseberg. Instead of being constructed on-site like wooden coasters normally are, prefab coasters are manufactured off-site before being brought to the park and assembled on-site, kind of like putting Lego bricks together. This results in a much smoother ride experience as the pieces are laser cut to precision at the factory. However, there is a reason that Intamin only sold 4 of them. It's safe to say they've had their fair share of issues over the years. T-Express, their newest installation, which opened at Everland in South Korea in 2008, was closed over the 23-24 off-season for comprehensive retracking work. Sweden's Balder was closed for the majority of the 2022 season as it had extensive track work and structure replaced, with rotten wood a supposed common issue. And the first installation, Colossus at Germany's Heidepark, was famously closed for 3 years in the late 2010s as it pretty much required an entire retracking, with some parts of the ride requiring steel track, and reportedly cost the park over €12 million. And then we get to El Toro, and you may want a pen and paper for this. The coaster's been known for its brutal roughness in some spots and can be incredibly polarising for most coaster enthusiasts, who will either praise it to high heavens and place it in their top 10s, or even as their number 1. And at the other end of the scale, you have people who aggressively hate El Toro with a passion and will swear off ever riding it again. And then there are its 2 most recent high-profile incidents. In June 2021, a set of upstop wheels in the back car became misaligned during the first drop, resulting in a partial derailment and the ride making a stop prior to arriving at the final brake run. The riders, who weren't injured, were evacuated, and the ride was closed for 10 months pending investigations. El Toro was found to have structural deficiencies on the first drop, where excessive pressure applied had caused the track gauge to widen, thus allowing for the incident to occur. Intamin installed steel crossbeams to this section to reinforce it and avoid a repeat scenario. The ride was open for another 4 months before its next incident in August, a malfunction towards the ride's end, resulting in 14 riders suffering minor injuries. Six Flags ran an internal investigation and found the ride to be sufficient and the safety systems to be in working order. However, the following month, the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs found El Toro to be structurally compromised and enforced an indefinite closure on El Toro until Six Flags and Intamin were able to conduct a comprehensive engineering review of the coaster and ensure that past incidents would not happen again. El Toro opened for the 2023 season in June and has ran without fault since. In terms of its roughness and curbing future incidents, Six Flags have committed to retracking El Toro over the next few years. El Toro stands with such a prominence over the east side of the park. Even next to Kingda Ka, which absolutely dwarfed it, Toro was still taller than any other ride on that side of Great Adventure. It stands 181 feet tall and hits a maximum speed of 70 miles an hour, putting it third worldwide for height and speed. Its initial drop angle of 76 degrees puts it 5th in the world, just behind T-Express. It has such an imposing presence throughout its area, Plaza del Carnaval. Themed to and named after the bull, El Toro Station is repurposed from Viper, which formerly stood in its place, and the surrounding area is themed to a Spanish pavilion. It's revered by coaster enthusiasts the world over, placing in the top 3 worldwide wooden coasters at the Golden Ticket Awards every year from 2009 up until last year, even finishing first in 2012 and 2017. El Toro starts with a left-hand turn out of the station and into its gigantic lift hill. You won't have time to regret the climb though, as it uses a cable lift, rarity on wooden coasters, to reach its maximum height. From there you take a 180-degree turn and head into the first drop. This drop is special and easily one of the best in the world. Falling from that high at that angle on a wooden coaster feels ridiculous. Towards the back of the train, you haven't even finished clearing the turnaround before you're yanked down the drop, which ends with a fantastic near miss of supports from later on in the ride. From there, you navigate 2 colossal camelbacks, which are again lauded by coaster enthusiasts. These camelbacks give some of the most sustained ejector airtime I've ever experienced, and 2 feel completely unhinged. Next up is a turnaround to the right which gives some decent sustained lateral forces, but is the first sign of this ride of some significant roughness. After this, you progress into 2 smaller hills which give noticeably less airtime than the prior 2, but still enough to lift you out of your seat. Following those, you reach another turnaround that you presumably ducked under earlier and rise up into the best moment on the ride, the Rolling Thunder Hill. This element is named after the former dueling wooden coaster which occupied this area of land, and a section of track from Rolling Thunder remains below this element. The rise into this hill is rather gradual, as you then slam back down into your seat since the apex of the hill is so abrupt and the drop down is much steeper than the entry. It is easily the most shocking moment of the ride, and for one with a 176 foot, 76 degree drop, that's no mean feat. After this, you traverse a twister section low to the ground with a couple of quick fire S-curves that whip you from either side of the train. Again, that part is a showcase of El Toro's rattly nature, yet still showing its incredible power. The final S-hill curves up to the right before quickly jolting back to the left, into the final hill, which on a warmer day can give you a quick pop of airtime, and into the final brakes. El Toro allows you to catch a breath as you turn back into the station. Now, don't get me wrong, this coaster is an absolute powerhouse. It features some of the strongest and most aggressive airtime of any wooden coaster I've experienced. Having said that, the two coasters that bested it on my recent East Coast trip might be another video for another time. The roughness doesn't take a huge amount from the enjoyment for me, but I can understand why it would for some people. This especially boils down to my main problem with Toro and why I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. It's not that it's just uncomfortable, and it's not the roughness that contributes mostly to that, it's actually the trains themselves. El Toro's trains are notoriously tight. I've never seen so many people have to take that unfortunate walk of shame from a ride as they weren't able to fit in. For perspective, I'm 6 foot tall and weigh 14 stone. I've recently lost a considerable amount of weight, but a lot of that remains around my stomach. The lap bars on Toro allow me to fit in comfortably and have a decent amount of space left, comparable to RMC lap bars, for example, which also have their haters. The difference is, RMCs allow their ride operators to see every individual restraint as being locked into place. The same goes for most B&M coasters I've ridden, and some instances like Hershey Park's Wildcat's Revenge and SeaWorld Orlando's Mako, the passengers on the train can also see when their restraint has gone green on a TV in the station. That also means that the ride operators themselves, with whom of course safety is a #1 priority, can easily make sure that a passenger's restraint is sufficiently locked and therefore will not need excessive force to be applied once the seat has gone green, thus increasing rider comfort. El Toro's trains do not have this system. I've been on plenty of coasters which too are like this, but none with restraints as unforgiving as Toro. The main ride operator can only see on their panel which cars have restraints that are not fully in, not individual passengers. And as each train has 6 cars, 3 rows of 2, it means that the ride operators checking restraints only have an indication that one or multiple of these 6 riders in a car have restraints that are not fully clicked in. Each time I rode Toro, there was at least a half dozen occasions where the main ride up would shout car 3, car 4, car 5 across the station. Once car 3 had been checked, it was car 4, car 5 across the station, and so on and so forth. If you were in one of those cars that didn't get called out, your restraint was fine and the ride operators needn't do any more. However, if your car was called out, which was pretty much every time for me, and regardless of whether you felt comfortable in your seat or looked like your restraint was fully down, the ride operator will check again and again to make sure that it wasn't your seat that was triggering the error message. It got to a point where there was 2 people in a car that I was on, one of whom was sat next to me, had to get off, and as I was also walking off the ride, thinking I wouldn't be able to get on, the ride operator called me back and said that I was good to go. That unfortunately was my main gripe with El Toro. The fact that I was in a car on every ride, which had to get the restraint pushed down as far as it would go, hampered the experience too much for me. There's still bucket loads of airtime to be felt on this ride, but unfortunately when your restraint pushes you so far into the seat, it feels like your ass could touch the track. You also feel every track imperfection, multiplies every jolt, every rattle, every shake. I understand completely when some people say that they could marathon it all day, but I now empathise with those that say it's a one and done for them. I don't know if it can be done or how easy it would be, but having the same system that B&M Hypers or the RMC hybrids have that tell the ride operator when each individual restraint is closed into place would greatly enhance the comfort that a lot of riders, from my first-hand experience, have had on this coaster. I thankfully didn't have this experience on Balder at Liseberg, and honestly, I'm not sure if this system features there or if they just don't appear on any of the prefab woodies or any woodies whatsoever. I really liked El Toro. It pushes wooden coasters to their very limit and does so for their riders too. The great bits of it are fantastic and its issues are complex and fairly innocuous, just uncomfortable. My final rating for El Toro is a 7 out of 10. I wanted to like it more, in fact I wanted to love it. The fact that I just missed out on Kingda Ka only accentuated my desire to marathon El Toro all day, yet even with the VIP flash pass that we were given, I was only able to manage 4 rides on it. In terms of wooden coasters from my East Coast trip, I think it ranks in at number 4, and it was my third favourite coaster at the park after Medusa and Flash Vertical Velocity. Thinking about it, I guess that checks out. I much prefer hang time and positive forces over airtime. A massive thank you to the channels that have allowed me to use their footage copyright free in this video. Links to their channels can be found in the description below. And of course, a huge thank you for you all for watching and staying through to the end. If you do like this type of content and like what I do, please like, comment and subscribe for more on-ride POVs and deep dives like this coming up soon. Bye for now.